Hi there, this is Mitch with the Fresh Support team, and today we're going to look at masking fields using TGEncrypt. Take an option 4 here, that's within the TG main menu there. And the first thing we'll look at is, let's take a look at our defaults here. So this is pretty standard across a lot of the tools. We have our auditing configuration, our alert messaging, so if you have SIM integration or TG Central instance, and then the primary and supplemental group inheritance. That's going to be so any rules that are set for, say, a user group profile. Anybody who is a member of that group profile or has that attached to their profile, any rules that we set will be inherited to those as well. So I'm going to pop into working with the database files here. And we'll start with a blank slate here. And to add a new file, just hit F6, and we just have a demo file that we ship with some of our tools. You hit enter to see the description pop in, and all of these. So initially you might have star no for everything. I've previously been journaling this file. If you do want to turn journaling on, you can take an option 1 here and hit enter. That will start that as well. So let's get to masking. We're going to hit a 6 on this. That's going to bring up all of our fields. So I'm going to get the customer name. Now, of course, most likely, social insurance number, credit card numbers, that sort of thing. This is just going to be what I will work with today. And so let's look up at the top here. We got a lot of options in here. We're going to go to mask details. So take an option 7. Here it's going to ask our masking values. So essentially what we want to show up here. And so let's just do customer name 00. So it's hard to, let me move my cursor here. So you can pass, essentially every one of the values within that column is going to be the same. So we're just going to set that to customer name 00. So I'll hit enter here. Enter once again to confirm. And you'll see we have a pending option here. So how the encryption process works essentially is that a field proc is attached to this field. And so we'll run any sort of encryption every time that that field is accessed. But in order to attach that field proc, we'll need to process the batch job associated with it. So we'll see the pending there on the status, and we'll take option 11 to process that. That's going to attach it for us. So we'll see our file name, library, field name, and the batch job that it'll be attached to. So I'll hit yes on this. We see the option is still pending. I believe that's just because we need to refresh our screen here. I'm going to take a 6 to go back in. And there we go. It is completed. So you can also take a look here. I could have probably done that instead of backing out and in. Take an option 13. You can see any pending actions, completed actions, things like that are going to be in here. Alright, so we now have our field proc attached. The next step so that this actually appears to be masked to end users is we need to set a rule. And so without this rule, by default, all rules, I was actually playing around with this earlier. By default, you should see update is going to be the default. And that's essentially normal interaction. You can read, you can update the field. But because we are masking it, I'm just going to do a mask read. We'll set this. This is to public all, so everybody on the system is going to have this applied to them. Now we can set user groups to be able to read them, or individual users. We can set IP addresses or groups of IPs, and we can also set certain times of day or week of when we want this to be applied as well. So So I'll hit enter and enter to confirm. You see we get a message at the bottom saying we were successful. And I'm just going to back out and I'm just going to run let's do a run query n Mitch /mu_cusf. And there we go. So we see all of the customer names set to 0 and everything else is untouched in here. Now, for example, and probably a more realistic case, is if we pop back into the database files and 6 work with fields. I'm going to set another rule for myself. So I'll take an F6. I'm going to add this for my user profile. We'll do it to *all. And I'm just going to give myself full access to this here. So our new rule is added successfully. It's back all the way out. We'll run our query again. And here we can see that for all users except for my user profile, that's going to be masked with customer name 00. That's kind of the general sense of this. There's a lot more that we can do with this. We can report on any changes that are made to the file. That's where the journaling comes in. We can, let's pop back in here. Of course, we have the option to encrypt, we have the option to mask, and we have the option to scramble. I'm not going to go through each one individually, but the concept is very similar. I'll quickly show you the screen. So the encrypt details screen, you can pass it different keys that we have. We have default keys. You can work with a key store and any sort of custom key. And if we're to take a look at the scramble details, we saw that a little bit earlier. Scramble method that we want to set, or we can do a custom scramble here as well. And I believe that is it. With the key management, that can be found in the front menu of TGEncrypt, but other than that, we have our reporting as well near the bottom here if you want to access various information about your database and files. And that is going to be all.